Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to Beverly Hills View. We've lived in Beverly Hills for 50 years and love our city. So here to talk about it with us and about our city is singer, composer, performer Ty Jeffries, direct from London. He was born and raised in the UK, studied at the prestigious Purcell School of Music in London, and graduated with a BA from Middlesex University. This musical genius, Ty Jeffries, spent 2 years at Beverly Hills Catholic School on Linden, the same school that my twins attended. So what were you doing in Beverly Hills?
I was there with my father, Lionel Jeffries, and we all came over from London while he was shooting a movie called Camelot here.
The famous actor, Lionel Jeffries.
Yes. Yeah, Joshua Logan directed. It was Vanessa Redgrave and Richard Harris. So we all decamped here and we lived on 809 North Camden Drive in a beautiful home there that was actually Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn's love nest. And part of our release was that we had to let her continue to swim in the pool in the morning.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And so you could walk to Beverly Hills Catholic from where you were?
Yes,
yeah,
I guess
fantastic.
so, yes.
And who else used to come to your house? Besides, Katharine Hepburn was swimming every morning?
She was swimming every morning. Fred Astaire was a great friend of my father's. In fact, my godmother is Ava Astaire, his daughter.
So they lived near you too?
Yeah. And
because he used to walk down Cannon every morning
yes.
and then go to the Beverly Hills post office.
Yes, I know, those were the days. And he used to come around to the house. I remember him, actually when we first arrived, we stayed at the Chateau Marmont Hotel, and we had a little house and a pool that was very glamorous. And Maurice Chevalier came over and he used to sing to me. I sat on his knee and he used to sing to me. I went swimming with Vanessa Redgrave's husband, Franco Nero.
Wow.
And he was in the movie too. So it was a very glamorous time.
Did it take that long to film it, or was he making other films?
I think it took 18 months.
Did it?
I don't know how much time that was actually shooting, but we were here for 2 years. So.
Wow. And you lived almost to Sunset, and right across from Sunset was Hosea Turby's house.
Yes.
And Donnell Dadigan, who's the founder director of the Hollywood Museum,
Yes.
is the director of the Hosea Turby Foundation.
Yes.
And he was a great pianist.
Yes.
And talking about the Hollywood Museum, we taped another interview for the Joan Quinn Profiles
Yes.
at the Hollywood Museum.
Yes. Wow, that was a wonderful surprise. I've been here. I came 15 years ago and wanted to go to the Hollywood Museum. I know that Debbie Reynolds saved a lot of stuff.
Of costumes,
yes.
But she didn't have a museum to put it in.
No.
That was the pity. So thank goodness Donnell did it.
Yes, and what an amazing experience. I recommend it to everybody. I mean, just seeing Joan Crawford's eyelashes in a little box was a huge thrill for me, and Greta Garbo's makeup case and everything. Yeah.
We'll save the eyelashes for later, because I think that's going to play into someone we know, a character that we know.
Yes, possibly, yes.
The museum is in the old Max Factor building, and so all those stars came to those dressing rooms downstairs and had their makeup. They had a brownette room instead of a brunette room, and a blonde room.
Yes.
So,
but he created makeup as we know it.
Yes.
I mean, from the very, very basics, from old pan stick and wax.
What was
pan,
it? Pan stick?
Pan stick and he
pancake maker.
Pancake. And then they originally were, and they used the actors' sticks, crayons almost of
very thick,
5 and 9, and they used to make up their faces, but it didn't film well, so he had to invent new makeup, new colors and finishes. Yeah.
Maybe that's where Pancake then came from, because it was thinner.
Yeah, he created that. Yeah.
Well, you knew all these stars growing up, but you actually spent your childhood in London. I mean, after you left Beverly Hills. Did you have the same kind of atmosphere at your house there?
Yes, very much so, really. I mean, it was Hollywood here, and it was Pinewood in London. So outside London is the film studios, and we live very near there. And my father would be able to drive to work. He made a lot of films at Pinewood. So we had, dropping names like Diana Dawes, who was the British bombshell. She was my parents' best friend.
Beautiful.
So she would come to the house. Lee Remick came to the house a number of times, and Fred Astaire came to stay the weekend, and they had fabulous parties with people like wonderful Patricia Neal, who was a great friend, and Roald Dahl.
And her husband,
Yes, Roald Dahl used to come up and sit on my bed, because I would have to go to bed, of course, I was only little, and he'd come and sit on my bed and tell me stories that he would make up, and every time he came, he would tell me another bit of the story.
Because he was writing children's books.
Yes, yeah.
And so you got to hear them first, probably,
yes,
right?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
It was great.
And then, where was that?
That was a place called Beaconsfield, Buckinghamshire. It's only about 40 minutes from London.
It's a little bit outside.
Yeah, and it was very much where a lot of the movie community lived. Margaret Rutherford lived there. I don't know if she's known here, but she was a famous British character actress. She lived there with her husband, Stringer Davis, so we used to go over and have tea with her.
So that was like your little community.
Yes.
I mean, the community of actors,
yes,
thespians.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we lived in a little group of houses, Little Prestwick, Prestwick Place, and Old Prestwick. And Prestwick Place had been Laurence Olivier and Vivian Lee's home, and he practiced the Henry V speeches on a horse in the field. And the Bolting brothers, who were very famous film writers and directors, lived in our house. We didn't realize until we moved in and found lots of photographs in the attic.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They always talk about finding photographs in the attic and what surprises come up, right?
Yes, I've got a painting in the attic.
Of someone's?
Like Dorian Gray.
Oh, you Well, while you were growing up and you had all these people around you, did you think of following in your father's footsteps? Were you going to be an actor?
I was a musician from the get-go, really. We had a piano that was left to us in the shed, I mentioned, and I used to go in there and play, and I just found I could play the piano. And I started writing songs when I was 5 years old.
Before you even took lessons, you were in there?
Yes,
so you have a musical
I'm
ear?
self-taught, really. I'm quite dyslexic, so I can't actually read music, but I just write instinctively.
So how do you write then?
I record everything.
Oh,
I write the lyrics down, and I have quite a resourceful memory. I can remember huge, vast tracks. I mean, whole one-man shows. I've got them all up here that I can do.
Right?
Yes.
So do you play another instrument, or just that?
I used to play the violin. My mum and dad used to send me very, very far down to the end of the garden to play the violin to the cows.
Oh,
because
I see.
wasn't very
Were
good
there
at it.
cows there actually?
The cows would all come up and look over the fence, looking at me like that. But that was the only audience I had for the violin.
Were you taking any kind of acting classes?
I did later. When I went to Middlesex, I did.
In university?
Yes. And then also when I came back here, about 15 years ago, I did some acting classes here.
Oh, you did? Where, in Hollywood?
In Hollywood, yeah. And then I've done some straight acting. You know, recently I did had a lead in a play about the man who wrote the song "Pack Up Your Troubles in Your Old Kit Bag."
Oh, really? And where was that, in London?
That was outside London in a place called Peacehaven, where he lived, and it was all about the area and his
Was it
story.
a one-person show?
No, it wasn't. It was. I was sort of musical directing and acting and singing and.
Well, instead of following that career, I think you had another career. You created a character.
Yes.
And can we call her your alter ego?
Yes, by all means.
Oh, we can, okay.
Yeah.
Miss Hope Springs.
Miss Hope Springs.
Yeah, she has a wonderful career in cabaret.
Yes.
And we have a picture of her on this CD that she made.
Yeah.
And she has a lot of hair.
She has a lot of hair.
And a lot of eyelashes.
A lot of eyelashes and floor-to-ceiling sequins, black sequin pantsuit. But she's a real person. It broadly is drag, but it's really, I call it gender illusion, because she is a believable woman, and she has a backstory, and she's vulnerable, and she sings. I've written the entire repertoire for her, and she sings all the songs from her life.
She's very cheeky.
She has some little cheeky moments.
Does she do more body cheeky stuff for different audiences? If she were in Las Vegas, would she do a different show?
I think she'd probably do a bigger show. I think the small cabaret rooms are no longer existing, really, in Las Vegas. So I think she'd have to do one of the huge theaters, of course, and she'd have dancers and everything, but at the
Right
moment
now-
it's just her at the piano.
Well, tell us a little bit about Miss Hope Springs.
Miss Hope Springs is a never was rather than a has been. And she started out in show business in the early 70s, as she says. And she's never quite made it. And
She has a mother.
She has a mother called Rusty Springs, and a grandmother called Elkie Seltzer.
and a husband who's not very nice.
Irving is very nice. Irving is very gay. So he's off doing his thing, and she's trying to keep the marriage alive, but it's not really working.
Does she have any children?
No.
Oh, so she's really a lone person.
Yes.
Doing her own repertoire
Yes.
in little rooms.
Yes, that's right. She's a bit like Lassie. After every show, she packs her bag and her sequin pantsuit, and off she goes again to the next venue.
Well, where does she live, actually?
She lives in a Winnebago.
A trailer.
A trailer. Yeah.
And what city is that in?
Well, wherever she happens to be.
Oh, she takes
She
it.
parks it up in the car park of Home Depot and spends the night there.
And one of the things that I learned, because I saw Miss Hope Springs perform at the Gardenia Room in West Hollywood, which is our neighbor just to the east on Santa Monica Boulevard. It's one of the few cabaret venues that's really left in the city. We had a fabulous one on Cannon called the Little Club.
Yes.
And Frances Faye used to sing, and my husband and I, 50 years ago, used to go in there. Yeah. And she had the best show. It was very small, little supper club feeling.
Yes.
And that's how the Gardenia, I think the Gardenia is 35 years old.
It's 35 years old. And as you say, it's probably one of the last remaining cabaret rooms. But there is a lot of cabaret, especially in London. There's a huge booming cabaret. I perform at the Crazy Cocks, right there in Piccadilly Circus. I've been there for 4 years, resident. But there is a huge resurgence, and I think, I'm trying to bring it back single-handedly, that vintage, almost like TV special at Peggy Lee, and those wonderful intimate evenings of song and stories.
The thing is, we don't know about cabaret. It's too slow for what's going on now. It's a very slow type of atmosphere.
Yeah.
Tell us about it a little bit.
Well, I think it's especially my show. I can only speak for my show, but I'm taking people into another era, and you do have to. I mean, people don't know what my show is about until they come and see it. They immediately think, well, there's a guy who dresses up as a woman, and it's going to be a certain kind of act, especially in England, because drag has a bad rap. It's sort of the end of the pier, as we call it. But here, people consider drag to be more of an art form, and
definitely
you had stars like Charles Pierce and Jim Bailey, who were great artists.
And I always called Holly Woodlawn a drag queen too.
Yes.
I mean, we loved Holly. She was
Yes.
very close to us.
Yes.
And she was always dressed like that.
Yes.
You're not dressed like that. You're not dressed like that. Your character's dressed
Yes,
like that.
I think Holly was transgender, which is very different from me. I'm an actor and a songwriter, and I had to find a way of getting my work out there. I was writing for Liza. I was writing for Bette Midler and for Barbara Streisand. No, but really,
Peggy Lee was too old, right?
She was, sadly. I mean, I would have, and also she wrote her own songs, a lot of her own songs. In fact, I spent the day with her, Holly Foster Wells, her granddaughter, yesterday in her archive, and she kindly showed.
Holly said she had a Peggy Lee room.
She does. Fabulous room with all the press photographs and candid family photographs and all her press cuttings, all done by Peggy, and all her little notebooks. And also I got to hear demos of songs that Peggy wrote and recorded that were never ever released. So it was a great honor, a real treasure trove.
We're going to take a break, but we'll be right back, and we'll finish talking about Peggy Lee.
Great.
We'll be right back.
So good to see you guys. So, what's up?
Oh, we finally bought a place.
Holy cow.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
Jeez, at the end of the month, we have nothing left to save.
Yeah, I have no idea where it goes.
Well, you're spending a lot on...
Ugh,
Was it good?
Oh, God.
Oh, how is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Hey, look at Mommy.
Maybe the light hurts his eyes.
Maybe she's just not hungry. Maybe it's a phase.
Avoiding eye contact is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Beverly Hills View. We're talking to performer Ty Jeffries, and we just left off when he was talking about Peggy Lee and this wonderful archive that her granddaughter, Holly
Foster Wells.
has.
Yeah.
And one thing about Holly Foster Wells is her mother went to Westlake, and I went to Westlake with her, Nikki Barber.
Wow,
Because
that's
Peggy
right.
Lee was married to Dave Barber,
That's
the
right.
musician, the musical director.
Yes.
And she was so cute. Nikki
Yes.
Barber was
Yeah.
adorable.
Well, Holly's a beautiful girl too.
She's beautiful. And also, all those singers used to come to Good Shepherd
Yes.
because there was a group of women and men who would come to church on Sunday mornings.
Yes.
And you knew somebody that used to come,
Well,
didn't
because
you?
we used to go to the Church of the Good Shepherd on Sundays to Mass, and my father, Lionel, had worked with Rosalind Russell on a movie, and they were pals, and she used to come to church, and I remember how lovely she was, how tall she was, and elegant.
Elegant.
And she would just always talk to me in such a lovely, warm way, as sort of person to person rather than adult to child.
She used to sit in the front row with her mother, Gladys Belzer, who was a great decorator. Everyone wanted her to decorate their house, and her sister, who was married to Ricardo Montalban at the time. And coming down for the offering was Ray Bolger. So we had a great church at that era, and you were a part of it all, really.
Yes, yeah. Very lucky to have been part of it.
I don't think Peggy Lee came there, but let's go back to what else you
Yes.
learned there.
Well, I mean, just a lot of people say that my Miss Hope Springs, my character, looks like Dusty Springfield, and I've always said, oh, she's much more Peggy Lee.
Ah, so that you had that connection.
Yes, and Holly said, well, it's funny because Dusty Springfield was a huge Peggy Lee fan and had sort of modeled her look on her. So
Oh,
there's
so
a
it's
kind
like
of,
really a circle.
It's a
Oh,
circle.
is that? Well, when we were at the Gardenia Room the other night, you had a total show business crowd.
Yeah.
Holly was there, Ava Astaire,
Yeah.
Juliet Mills,
Yes.
who was great friends. Her parents were great friends of your.
My parents, Sir John Mills and Mary Mills, the playwright, and also Andrew Abelson was there, who's Frankie Vaughan's son. Frankie
is
Vaughan, who
that-
was in, I think it was Some Like It Hot, not Some Like It Hot. What was the movie?
I don't know which one he
with
was in.
Marilyn Monroe, and anyway,
He
somebody
was
might
there.
come
He
up
was.
with it.
His father was.
Yeah, Frankie Vaughan starred with Marilyn Monroe in, and I can't remember the name of the movie.
But also Neil McQueen
Yes.
was there, and my friend Daniel Orlandi, who's a great costumer of movies. He's
Yes.
worked with Tom Hanks and who know,
Yes.
like this long list of people. He's going to New Orleans to work
Yeah.
with Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
So
It was
you
a
had
great
really
night.
interesting night.
Yeah, it
because
was like old Hollywood, the next generation sort
Right,
of thing. Yeah,
right,
it was fabulous.
Well, let's get back to Miss Springs, Miss Hope Springs. She likes to travel.
Yes, but I don't think she has a fixed abode, so she has no real choice but to travel.
But she's quite international. She had that wonderful song about Pigalle.
Yes, oh yes, she spent some time in Paris, and she spent time in all over the world. Whether she's actually done it, or possibly it's a figment of her medication, we're not quite sure. But she spins yarns, and yeah.
Yeah, you write all of the music.
And
Is
the
that
lyric-
what
all the
cabaret
music
is?
and the lyrics.
Is it always original?
No.
Oh, I
No,
see.
by all means, no. I mean, I'm one of the few acts that writes all their own material, music and lyrics, and I arrange all the songs as well. A lot of them are cabaret, especially in London, and over here is the Great American Songbook, and reinterpretations of that. So it's Gershwin and Cole Porter and Harold Arlen.
Usually?
Usually. And
Do they talk in between? Because you
Ye-
tell stories in between. Or
Yes.
she tells stories in between.
usually people do to some extent or other, but my show is really musical theatre, about a cabaret singer, and it is also cabaret, but it's really musical theater because you're taken into a world. You believe in the character. She tells you the whole, spins a dramatic arc and tells you her story, and the songs work in that as the sort of musical illustration. And I write all the songs, so some are like Gershwin, some are a little bit Bacharach-y.
Oh yes, I noticed. Some were faster, slower.
Yeah, some are witty,
trendy,
some are. Well, I think as trendy as she gets is about 1970. So
that's true. That's trendy. Trendy for her.
Trendy for her. Right down with the kids there.
But so, have you been yourself to Paris a lot?
Yes. I was a model in the late 80s. I hate to say, when I was a child model.
Oh, weren't we all?
And I did all the shows. I worked for Gaultier and Comme des Garçons, and I was the first guy with a shaved head to be a top male model for about 4 or 5 years.
So you drew on those experiences,
Yes.
being in Paris and of course
Yes.
living in London.
And living out of a suitcase myself during those years,
Just
modeling.
like Miss Hope Springs,
Yes,
she lives in
so
a
it's quite
suitcase.
autobiographical in some ways,
That's what I was wondering.
apart from her hair.
Apart from the hair. Well, the hair is big.
Yeah. It's big really because it's got to be proportionate, and then if I'm sitting at a nice grand piano and the hair is big and the lashes are big and the lips are a little bigger and the jewelry is big, it makes me look smaller, it makes me look more
But
petite.
how tall are you? Oh, you're model tall.
I'm 6'2".
Yeah, you're model tall. That's
Yeah.
why, right? So she needs, when you come out, in heels.
Little heels. Little
Because
heels.
You look
but
huge when you walk down, everyone's sitting at their dinner tables.
I am huge, that's why.
What other, in the U.S., let's talk about what other, you
Yes.
were in New York.
I was in New York at the Metropolitan Room, had a fabulous show there.
So we
Fabulous.
do have some cabaret rooms left.
Oh, absolutely. There is a big cabaret scene internationally. There's a magazine called Cabaret Scenes, which goes to all the cabaret rooms, and there were a lot of them. And on the West Coast and the East Coast, and every town really still has cabaret rooms.
So you were in New York, San Diego.
San Diego, LA, going up to
San Francisco.
San Francisco, and then New York again with 4 shows there.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
I see.
And then I'm back to London the 24th of April to my my residency, pick up my residency there at the Crazy Coqs.
The process of dressing.
Yeah.
I know how long it takes me to get dressed to come to the show, but how long does it take you to put on 3 sets of eyelashes? Start at the beginning and tell me what you do. And where do you do it? In a dressing room at the play,
yes.
or at home before?
No,
you...
I start out at home because I shave, because it's a character part. I have to feel, I shave my arms and my chest and my legs. And then I go and I usually warm up, or I do a rehearsal, and then I do,
So
I
you get
block
to
it out.
the venue early.
Yeah, I mean, I'm there. I mean, I was there at 4 o'clock
I see.
on Saturday, and we did the
For
show at 9 o'clock.
yeah.
And it takes me 2.5 hours to do the makeup because it's all different foundations and contouring. But it's not a drag makeup. I do a makeup that makes me look like a real woman.
Yeah, very real.
Yeah.
The only thing that isn't real are the eyelashes. And you have jokes about the eyelashes.
Well, I don't know any woman in show business whose eyelashes are real, to be honest.
If they're real,
But
you
you're
can't
a
see
natural
them.
beauty, darling.
No, but if they're real, you can't see them,
No,
right?
exactly.
So when you go to put on your glasses, what do?
Well, you know that when in the show, Miss Hope Springs reads the song that supposedly was written for her by Noel Coward.
Oh, yes.
And of course she can't get the glasses on because she doesn't know if they should be outside or inside, because they get squashed up against the glass.
And you're always like, oh, my lashes.
Yes.
Is there a lot of interaction with the audience?
It happens naturally. I mean, there's always something. There's always someone who starts a little repartee, and a little bit is fine, but then if they go on too much, I'll shut them down.
How do you do that? Because you were really natural with them. Do you have those responses ready?
They just come, and sometimes I say things, I mean, she's not an unkind person, but she will, put people in their place, and people like that. I think they quite like her being a little, maybe turning a little Margaret Thatcher on them.
And you don't have to do a lot of costuming.
I don't. I mean, I keep it very simple. She has this one outfit that she escaped the Pink Pelican Casino with
In Las Vegas.
in Las Vegas. It doesn't exist, but it sounds like it
Exactly.
exists. And just before it was demolished and blown up with dynamite, she managed to just get in, grab one costume and her sheet music and get out.
So that's all you need to travel with
That's
is
all,
one
yeah.
and a makeup bag. A lot of makeup, probably, right?
Quite a lot of makeup, yes.
And
just a touch of clear mascara and some
what
powder.
about jewelry?
Again,
Same
just
jewelry?
earrings and rings.
But the earrings are like down to here.
Yeah, but it's not. Hopefully, it's not a drag look. It's, as I say, it's a. I mean, I think of her being like more like Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin, a sad clown.
Do you change your voice when you sing?
No,
Because it sounds so natural.
I think I'm a sort of the B. Arthur school of singing, where it's sort of
baby.
down in my boots, but I feminize my voice. I soften my voice to express that more vulnerable side.
Because it's a little different than what you're saying now, because you get, pretty soon you just think that that's her voice, and
Yeah.
it's like a perfect woman's voice, like a deep voice.
Yeah.
When we talked about interaction, you sang this song called the Zodiac Song.
Zodiac Lover, yes.
Zodiac Lover.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that is
That was
supposedly
so-
from her mother, one of her relatives' back catalogue, The Flaming Flappers of 45. And yeah, it's just a sort of a witty kind of fun song about the zodiac, and she's trying to find her man, and she's tried all the signs so far and hasn't succeeded, poor thing.
And when you said, you say something and to the audience.
Yeah,
I forget
say,
what the
what's
line
your
is.
sign?
Oh, and then somebody answered you.
Yeah.
And you went,
And then I said, I didn't really want to know.
and then someone else answered
Yeah, I couldn't
you.
believe it after that. You know, somebody also told me
usually do
their
that?
sign. I think there's something about Miss Hope Springs that's slightly threatening, and they're
like
slightly
that?
frightened. They don't quite know what to do, so they fess up. They tell me their sign.
Does that happen all the time when you
Yes, it
sing
does.
it?
It does. It does, yeah.
The other one that was so great and all the lights went red was The Devil Made Me Do It.
Yes, that's Hope's theme song, really. I always use that as my my encore at the end of the show.
Oh, I see.
And it sort of touches on some of the things in her life that she may or may not have done, including finishing off a husband or two.
Oh, she took care of that.
She
she
did.
took care of that, right? Does Hope go out dressed like that ever to charity events?
Yes,
Or she does.
to charity events I'll do if I'm invited and they want Miss Hope Springs to come. I do that, and I do a lot of parties. I do a lot of private parties and events where Hope comes and does the show, and also she'll mingle and talk
she
to
does
people.
both, I see.
Yeah, but when I'm doing a theatre show, after the show is over, I go backstage and I take it all off and I come out as myself, because if I have to come out as Hope after a 2-hour show and then spend another hour talking to people in character, it's too much. Yeah.
But you did at the Gardenia. You
Yeah.
came out in costume.
Yeah.
I'm calling it costume.
Yeah.
And everyone was taking pictures, and
Yes.
everyone was so excited to see you because
Yeah.
it was a very enthusiastic crowd. I know Julie Esposito was sitting next to us, and she went, "I perform here all the time. I knew he'd be fabulous." You know,
Yes.
it was like people who really didn't know you, but actually are cabaret singers as well.
Yes, I mean, it's funny because even Holly Foster Wells said, I've seen photographs of you at the piano, but I
Oh,
didn't
right.
really realize you could play.
I know,
until
because
you-
it's shocking. You play so much,
Yeah.
and you don't expect that.
Yeah, it's a very. Somebody said I remind them of Joanne Castle, who was quite a famous American cabaret entertainer, well, a television entertainer from the 60s, and she played the piano. She was blonde, and she played the piano and had a sort of big grin on her face.
But she was not in
No,
drag.
she was a real woman.
She was a real woman, like Frances Faye. She did the
Yes,
same kind of
yes.
thing.
So
yeah.
Miss Hope Springs
and
is
she
really,
knew how to play.
Yeah, Miss Hope Springs is a portrait of a lady from that era.
Have you ever done a big stage show of hers with dancers? And
No, I
music?
haven't. The biggest thing I did was the Talk of the Town in London, the wonderful
Oh, right.
Hippodrome Casino as it is now, which is a big stage, huge piano, fabulous setup, really. And it was lovely to just tread the boards that Judy Garland and Frank Sinatra trod.
She needs to be on stage. She needs more than what you have. You have a little group behind you. How do you find that group?
I mean, I booked Julie Esposito, who's a wonderful cabaret singer. She found me a couple of great musicians.
Oh, is that how that
Yeah,
happened? Because how do you know who to call? And do you book at each city that you go to?
Well, some shows I'm doing solo, other shows I'm doing with the band. But
how do they pick up so fast?
Well, I have the music, I have the sheet music, I have the parts written, and they have to read, and they have to be very good musicians, which they were, wonderful musicians.
I see.
Though you have the great musicians in LA.
And then you let them go and you do your act by yourself,
Yes.
which is great.
Yeah, it just changes it up a little bit and gives it another texture.
Well, the reason I say you have to be on stage is because Dame Edna has a big stage show.
Yes.
Does Hope know Dame Edna?
I know Barry Humphries. I mean, I've had lunch with him and met him a number of times.
He's fantastic.
He's brilliant.
But he's a great actor too, in the same vein that you're talking about.
Yeah, his character is much more extravagant and much more drag.
Much
than
more
mine.
drag.
Yeah, I mean, mine is really it is intimate. It is low key. It's very personal, and I think the audience feels that they're in a private conversation with me.
But Dame Edna goes on stage and she has dancers.
Yes.
Have you written anything like that for yourself?
Not really. No, it doesn't appeal to me, to be honest, Joan. I really like this portrait of this lady who is down on her luck. It's just a piano, a bit of faded glamour, and the stories of her life. It's not a big. Maybe she could have fantasy sequences.
She might not be the person that the Queen would make a dame either, would she?
Sadly, I think it's never going to happen.
I don't think so either. So when Dame Edna's finished, Miss Holly Springs will continue.
Miss Hope Springs, yes.
Miss Hope Springs. I keep calling her
Well, because
Holly.
we've been talking about Hollywood Lawn and Holly Foster Wells
all these Hollies.
and all the H's.
So excuse me, you tell Miss Hope Springs that I'm very sorry,
I
and I
will.
want to thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Joan.
You have to move back to Beverly Hills.
Don't tempt me.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you.
And thank you for watching the Beverly Hills View today, and we'll see you next time.